Alright. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about referred pain in the head and neck. So if we move forwards. So what we're going to cover referred pain. What is referred pain? The difference between somatic and visceral as just a background and a basis, and then go through referred pain specifically in the head and go through a few examples. Let's get here. So what is referred pain? There's simply pain perceived at a location other than the site of the painful stimulus. One of the two main ones is visceral, which is simply where afferent fibres run from both the skin and viscera, and they both run to the same dorsal root ganglion on the same spinal level, and as such it's more common for the signal to come from the skin, and as such the CNS perceives the activation of the whole ganglion as more commonly from the skin, so it perceives, even if it's from the viscera, you kind of perceive it and feel it on the skin. A good example of that is diaphragmatic irritation leading to shoulder pain. This next slide. So the next type is somatic referred pain. It's a little bit simpler. It's where the noxious stimulus is literally just an proximal part of the nerve, and you feel that on the distal dermatomal of the skin. So where the red arrow is here is where the noxious stimulus would be. The CNS would perceive it to be up here. Okay. A good example of that, the only example I could come up with for that was shingles. So next slide. A little bit about headaches. It's less scientific, but the very kind of headachy type pain that people complain of when they're ill can be categorised and localised, so certain areas will give you a headache in a specific place. So for example, let's get this back. So for example, a headache caused by a digestive problem will give you a digestive problem will give you a headache across your forehead and around your eyes and in your temples. Migraines we'll cover in a second, but similarly stress, so that's stress by like kind of giving a presentation or something like that, gives you, as opposed to physical stress, you'll get a headache that runs down the back and into your neck and such like that. We'll go into the next slide. So we're going to go specifically to referred pain in the head and neck. Two of the biggest ones that we could think of is angina pectoris and myocardial infarction. I'll go through a little bit more detail on that, similarly with migraines and sphenopalatine ganglion neuralgia in the next few slides. But also raised intracranial pressure can give you a referred pain type headache. Possibly due to reduced CSF circulation. It's not very well known, but reduced CSF circulation could potentially give you a headache due to lack of nutrient circulation. Similarly, people with space-occupying lesions such as tumours generally find the pain refers to the scalp directly above it. Upper trapezius pain is another one of those vague ones that people kind of complain of. You find that people refer the pain and find the pain in the temples. Similarly with dental infections, it's not very well understood as to the actual mechanism and the cause. But dental infection, people find that they get pain in the jaw and up towards the ears. So we're going to move on. We're going to talk a little bit about referred pain from an MI and angina pectoris. The pain people generally experience during MI is obviously in the chest, but commonly people refer the pain into their ear and around their face and in their jaw. With regards to the ear, that's quite easily explained, as the vagus nerve carries visceral afferent fibres through the chest and the abdomen, which includes obviously the heart, but it also supplies sensation to the external auditory meatus, and as such the pain can be referred from here up towards the ear, you can see on the diagram there. But similarly, it's not just the heart that can give you the pain by the same mechanism up to the ear. Things like esophagitis and bronchiocarcinoma can give you the same pain. With with regards to the tooth, jaw and the face, that one's less well understood, but the paper I read suspected it could be something to do with communication between the vagus nerve and branches of the trigeminal nerve. But like I said, it's not very well understood as to the actual mechanism of that. So we're going to move on to sphenopalatine ganglion neuralgia, which is simply an ice cream headache. So you've all had ice cream headaches. It's when ice cream or something cold touches the palate of your mouth, and it leads to rapid cooling and rewarming of the capillaries. And the rapid cooling and rewarming leads to constriction and dilation, which is then detected by trigeminal nerve fibres. With regards to the actual mechanism, people find that the pain is experienced on the frontal region of the head. It can possibly be explained by both visceral and somatic referred pain, whereby if it's detected in the maxillary division, it will transmit back to the trigeminal ganglion, but obviously the pain is felt on the frontal region, so possibly the frontal region is more commonly activated, and so the CNS perceives the pain on the frontal region. Or similarly, if the frontal region more proximally supplies the sinus, it will feel it on the distal region, i.e. the front of the head and the skin. So we're going to move on again. So we're going to talk a little bit about migraines. There's two types of migraines, so with oil and without oil. Oil is simply just something that people associate immediately before they have the headache, so it could be something they see, smell, taste. The actual headache is possibly caused by spasming blood vessels, and people find that, which is very similar to sphenopalatine ganglion neuralgia. The headache is usually localized on one side of the head. It can last for a few days, but like I said, it's not very well understood, the mechanism. We really struggle to find actual scientific basis for a lot of the stuff that we had to try and kind of cover. But one of the papers we read said that it was because of spasming blood vessels in the head, and the pain would be localized on one side as opposed to both, but we're unsure as to why people get it and the actual proven mechanism as to why it occurs. So is there any questions?